Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. I just wanted to put together a little video that talks about some of the steering response when using a controller, and specifically the Dualsense Edge that I have. So what I want to cover in here is I got some controller settings in DSX, and then we can look at the control settings that I use in Motorfest. And then we'll look at this little demonstration of how the steering works in the game, and then we'll get back to this race at the end here. Thought this is a pretty good track to look at how steering works, because it's got a bunch of good turns in it, like this one up here coming up, this nice hairpin. It's a tricky one to navigate. It requires all your control inputs. You got to brake, and you got to be on the accelerator properly, and you got to kind of hit that steering correctly. Anyway, so we'll look at the settings that I put together. So this is DSX. I use the basic curve, the default curve. So this should be really linear. And then what we can look at here is just the dead zones on the control. You can see me kind of manipulating some of the controls on here. And this will give you an idea of how the all the things kind of interact together, like the response of the game, the response of the overlay that I have here, and then you can watch me actually manipulate the controller on the crotch cam down here. And then we can look at the TCM settings here, and you can see how how I have it set up. I use again a linear steering setup, which should yield really linear results, and we'll see in a little bit that it doesn't do that. This is kind of the crux of the issue here. So what do we got? We can also look at the throttles. The throttles behave pretty good. I find the throttles not too bad. One of the interesting things that you can see on here, when I turn it here, what ends up happening with these triggers is there's actually a dead zone at the top. Hard to see because it gets all blurry here, but you can see I'm moving the throttle, and it's the game isn't responding at all. There's like this, there's just a dead zone at the top. There doesn't seem to be too much at the bottom. It's a little bit, but I don't find it super bothersome. It's more about the steering is what really gets me. But I just wanted to walk you through kind of all the different things here. So now what we can do here is you can actually see the controller inputs as they relate to the steering or the wheels on the GP car here. And what I want you to pay attention to is that kind of when you get like halfway, the wheels almost want to start to move all the way to the end. And I think what you can see here is what I'm going to do is drive down to this little circle. See this little circle here, and try to maintain a steady speed as I drive around this thing, and try to maintain a steady corner at a steady speed. And you can see it's really hard. There's almost like a well, if you've been following this input issue, some of the forums and whatnot, you can see that people talk about there being a filter on the steering. This is exactly what it looks like. So there's, you can set it to be as linear as you possibly can get it with the settings that are available on your controller and on your in the game, but it's actually not linear. There's a kind of a there's a notch in it or something, right, kind of in that midpoint, or breakneck on these corners, these big long corners, and you can kind of see that it's really tricky to maintain a proper line through these corners, right? Like some of them you can kind of get lucky, but you know, and so there's two things happening here, right? Well, one, it's an arcade game, right? Like it's meant to be kind of snappy and fun and weird. Like it's not supposed to be a simulator. And I get that, and I also understand that I'm not the best at this. You can see, you know, this is on difficulty 3, and I'm struggling to beat some of these guys with a basically maxed out car. But it's just made all the more difficult with this kind of funny filter on it. That's what I would call it unpredictable. Like that there is. You know, you kind of get used to it, but it's still it's challenging to work with. You know, and I would say, like, I'm not super bothered by it. Like I still have tons of fun playing the game, but it would be nice if the setup made a little bit more sense. Maybe I'm not really sure, right? Like, you know, I feel like I've got, you know, like this the Dualsense Edge. You know, this is a top controller, right? Like a pro controller, and I feel like I should be able to get way better results using a controller like this. You know, I should like in a corner like this one, I should be able to maintain a pretty steady line and not bleed off all that speed because I'm, you know, constantly over adjusting or under adjusting to the thing, because of this steering filter, not because of my ability, right? Like it's, you know, just putting something between my skill level and the game that doesn't totally make sense, right? So, you know, and like I say, like sometimes you get pretty good in some of these corners, and that one was okay. You know, some of these gentle ones are a little bit easier to manage because you can get those little inputs and they work. You know, and if you get your line right, like I did here, then it's okay. But it's you got to kind of get it right on the first try. If you miss, you over input just a tiny little bit, you're kind of screwed. And you'll go, like, I think, is this the big hairpin coming up? I can't tell. Yeah, this is the big hairpin coming up. And this one, I think I go a little bit wide on it, right? Coming in pretty hot, hit the brakes, and I come in steep, and then, yeah, come around. It's an okay thing, but, you know, some of that is braking, some of that is accelerating, and some of that is, well, I think most of it is steering behavior, right? Like it's just a tricky thing about, you know, my input says, like, blam, I want to go through this turn, but there's a lag, and then there's this filter, and it's just tricky. But anyways, I think I've said all I really wanted to say about this. Like, you know, you have to just kind of, you know, watch through it and see if you can pay attention to some of the little details here. Hopefully we can show this to developers, and maybe they can understand some of our frustrations. I don't know if anybody agrees with me, like if this all makes sense. I'd love for people to give me some feedback on this. So anyways, thanks for watching.